But to say dads for life is like, is there another way? If you're not a dad for
Stating
life,
the obvious, right? Yeah.
it's like that switch is there somewhere where they know they can turn on and like ask for help. Versus men who are not spiritually inclined.
Every year, there are about 400 to 500 suicides, and
in Singapore,
yeah, something like that.
So what do you think of that? Based on what you saw on the Yalabat episode,
about the movement, about the
guy.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. It's finally happening. Yeah. And I'm glad it started by someone who seems very open to all experiences, and who has no bias. I feel he's pretty balanced and not your typical chauvinist type. An evolved person. I feel so I think it's in good hands, and it's just the beginning. I look forward to seeing how it will grow and who else it will reach, and maybe it will even spread to our neighboring countries. I don't know. It'll be exciting to see how it grows.
Okay. I want to show you this, highlight this part. Okay, so I asked Claude to do some research on this. So I haven't fact checked yet, but I thought it would be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, to look at all the different aspects, right?
How it's different from the Me Too style men's movements elsewhere. So this is what's happening in the world right now is that there are men's rights groups elsewhere in the world that is primarily anti-feminist, right? But MenToo is not anti-feminist, right? They are pro-relationships, fatherhood, money. They want to talk about all these things, which is so in the US. Apparently, there is a movement called Him Too.
Okay.
Which is a reaction to Me Too, right? And I feel that this MenToo movement in Singapore, in order to remove themselves from being too associated with anti-feminist groups, that name, I have a problem with that name. It's not. And as the guy said in the interview, right? He said that it's about including men too. Okay, I understand the rationale behind it, but I feel like firstly, it's too close to Me Too. Secondly, there's Him Too, which is the US version. You just get dragged into the whole mix,
right?
Which doesn't give you
totally different thing. What Me Too and Men Too? I mean, the ideas, but the names are so similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
They should not even use the word "too," right?
Correct.
Or in it it's not to their advantage.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. What would be a better name for them?
Something along the lines where they're promoting that man has they do have a capacity to communicate their emotions too, right? Like being honest about how they feel, and that they're not tied down by cultural norms. The theme should be more along those lines, right? Because I feel like it's a good thing, but then if people don't know any better, they're like, oh, this is in the same category as everything else, so intentions are good, but I guess it depends on how they're gonna market themselves from here on.
What's this bros before wolves? Is that a different?
Okay, so they launched this year, founded by Amicus, a company actually. It's a legal and coaching firm, along with Bros Before Wolves, a men's community group.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, the name, Bros Before Wolves is Bros Before Hoes, Bros.
They're just trying to rhyme it too much.
Yeah, I feel like they need to be a little bit more original to move out of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to rhyme, right?
Yeah.
They're too hung up on that.
I think they lack originality. That is the main problem. But maybe maybe it's a good start. I don't know, but I just feel like it may not be to their advantage from a marketing perspective. Yeah. So, but I think what was really good about this is that they are actually tying up with so many different groups, such as they have this they have Dads for Life as part of their group. They talk about fatherhood. They talk about, then of course they have the Bros Before Wolves. What else?
Dads for Life has been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what they do. Do you know?
Nope. I only always off and on see the bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it quite interesting that it is called Dads for Life, because I mean whatever their whatever their movement is, if they're doing good, then I applaud them. But to say Dads for Life is like, is there another way? If you're not a dad for life,
the obvious, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that they have to state something so obvious means that a lot of dads do not see their role as a lifelong journey, that they have to remind them, which I find
quite sad.
is telling. Is telling, yeah.
Yeah, because you would never have a mum for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your mum will always tell you, over my dead body.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That means Dads for Life is only for people who are fathers, not men who are not fathers.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
And I think the target is specifically, okay, I'm guessing here, I'm not sure, we need to fact check. That single fathers, as in divorce, like you're divorced from your wife, and maybe your children are not living with you. So maybe that's why they have Dads for Life. I'm not sure whether that's the reason. Yeah.
Okay. Catholic circles, they also have men's groups. They have like Saint Joseph as their patron, to emulate his sort of fatherhood, his sort of leadership, in family life, that kind of thing. All the values that he encapsulated. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it's a big step that men are opening up, to acknowledge their struggles. That's already a progress, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially men in their midlife.
When everything starts breaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they get very depressed. Yes.
Yeah. And you rarely see, I mean, there's a tendency for men to earlier on our question on loneliness, right? Men and women. You will never find, okay, this is said by someone who is in the funeral business. She said that if a man loses his wife, she dies first, within a year, he would remarry. But if it's the other way around, she would not remarry. She would be like, free, freedom, which is very different. So women then in general have, better coping mechanism, right? And so they know how to seek help and all that. But men, if they don't have a partner, they need something like this organization, like, or this community building kind of thing, the MenToo movement, to get some kind of a support. And I think, yeah, men in their midlife especially would need that, because most don't, the concept of going for therapy is so foreign.
Very Western. Like they always think it's a Western
Yeah.
lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
a bit like not elitist, but like, oh, because I'm so privileged that I can afford to pay for something called therapy.
yeah. Or they would say, even if they have problems in their marriage, for example, they would say, why should we tell some stranger our problems? Yeah. So the idea that counseling or therapy is to help you to heal is very foreign. Like the healing idea is not even in their understanding. To them, it's like, I'm telling someone my problem. I'm just telling.
Yeah.
They don't see
Yeah.
that they get
Yeah.
something back in return. Like that idea is not in their consciousness, which I find really interesting. But I also think people who are more spiritually inclined will have a higher tendency to seek help versus those who are not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
talking about men.
yes, and more inclined to open up too. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I suddenly thought that actually I've heard quite a few men in our community opening up in our small groups,
Mm,
about their
mm,
struggles,
yeah.
about
Yeah.
relationships, marriage, and
Mm,
children,
mm,
or even work,
yeah.
like job related things. So,
Yeah.
um, actually, it's quite normal,
Mm,
surprisingly.
mm. And I think spirituality plays such a big role in helping people to see life from a much bigger perspective. I'm not talking about religious practices or superstition. That's a
Mm,
different category altogether. I'm talking about
mm,
spirituality as in an inner connection with self and with creator in
mm,
whatever religion and shape and form, right? That helps people to have I guess they experience themselves in a broader context.
mm.
Like
More holistic, right?
yeah. And then the ability to seek help is like that switch is there somewhere where they know
Mm,
they can turn on and like ask for help, versus men who are not spiritually inclined. They may not, yeah, for them it's just so black and white. Like,
mm,
I have a problem, if I tell someone, someone knows my, like, why would I want to do that? Like,
yeah,
they cannot experience it. Yeah.
yeah. I think they rationalize intellectually only up to that point,
Mm,
and not they don't go beyond the intellectual, because there is more to life than the intellectual aspect of your being. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it also makes me wonder if they know how to experience emotions, or how do they experience emotions. People I've worked with, right, when they talk about having certain feelings and all, the emotion is very suppressed. It's like
Mm,
you almost have to dig it out of them,
okay,
and make them
okay.
cry,
Oh,
in order to get somewhere. I feel for women is very different, right? Like when women experience emotions, it's like you feel it. You feel it in your
yeah,
body, you feel it in your being, you just express it, you cry,
yeah.
you whatever. For men, is so almost like pushed in,
Mm, mm,
and
mm,
controlled. Ah,
boxed. Yeah, like um, they compartmentalize.
yeah,
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 right.
yeah. And I think maybe so much so that if a man is able to experience emotions like the way we do, they think that something is wrong with them. And then they think they have mental issues. Then they
Mm,
would go and get medication to numb those emotions.
oh
Because
dear.
I've witnessed people
Right.
like that. They think, oh, but I feel that. I said, it's normal to have these emotions.
Okay.
It's human. But I think maybe they compare themselves with other men who don't necessarily show that they feel in the way like women feel, and maybe they think that they are weaker. I don't know.
Mm,
It's interesting,
mm,
right? How
yes. Emotions always connote weakness.
mm,
Tears, whether it's tears of joy or sadness, is always seen as a weakness. Yeah.
mm,
Like
mm,
no tears, right?
mm,
That's where it
mm.
came from. Yeah.
Yeah. But someone said to me, a man said to me, I always thought you're very strong. And then because I think I cried or I was tearing over something. And he said, but I thought you're always very strong. And then I thought to myself, what does
What's
he
that
mean
got to
by
do?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
what does he mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's confusing being in touch with your
Yes.
emotions with weakness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly
I
that.
hope you set him straight.
No, I was too busy in my too busy experiencing whatever I was experiencing to go and like answer. I just like, why did he say that? I just let it pass. Yeah, quite interesting, right? And I think there's men in general who perceive expression of emotions as being weak. Yeah.
Seen many men cry. um, I saw a priest cry because his brother priest, his fellow priest, was leaving for another parish, and they worked many years together and they worked very well. And when he was kind of saying his goodbye in front of all of us to the priest who was leaving, he wasn't the one leaving. He cried, and I
Yeah.
thought that was so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was going to take over, and
Mm,
he wasn't afraid to cry.
yeah.
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 And then I've seen many men cry. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're spiritually inclined, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very different.
Okay.
Very
Well,
different.
okay. My nephew is okay, lah. He's not religious. Okay. Maybe you can say he's spiritually inclined. He's very ready to acknowledge his fears and his struggles and his
Yeah.
paranoia. Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah,
That's
I
healthy.
find that quite interesting. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know where that came from.
Mm. Yeah. But most men will not. Like my own nephew would never. Never. Even with one leg amputated.
Wow.
Show no emotions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously not spiritually inclined. So for me, that's when I observe all these, right? Like when I look at people around me and the men and whether they know how to express emotions and whether there is some spiritual connection to their personal development, almost all who have problems expressing their emotions are not spiritually inclined, which, yeah, I'm very fascinated by this because it just means that people do need to have some form of a spiritual life. Now, if they're not, they don't want to practice any religion, it's fine, but have something, right? Like a spiritual connection to whatever, right? Because it definitely.
It's almost like a sixth sense. Yeah, like we have five senses, right? But that's what we use to experience the physical world. Yeah, but you need that sixth sense,
Yes,
as well.
yeah,
to
you need that
be
sense of
in touch,
ability to
spiritually in touch.
to feel something beyond the physical.
Yeah.
Because that also helps you to align and connect with your emotions.
Yes.
It's a lot of feeling in the body and feeling energy and all of that. Like, yeah, people who can't feel that, they can't feel the emotions too. It's almost like it's locked in, right, with each other. So yeah.
Okay, now I remember where I saw many men cry. It was very funny. It was Maundy Thursday Mass. There's always the washing of the feet, right? By a priest will wash the feet of 12 men. So they usually select 12 people from 12 different ministries. So you just send a rep. And this year in particular, the priest was doing the washing. He said, I want the men to have a spiritual prep before we actually have mass and that paraliturgy. Normally we don't. They just go cold and then it's just a going through the motions. Well, this year, a week before, all the 12 men had to attend this special session with him. And we don't know what went on, okay? But a lot of them came out saying, wow, it was amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then on that mass itself, when the priest washed their feet, he washed both feet for each. And he kissed both feet of each 12 men. And the men could not stop crying. Yeah, they were literally jerking like that, sobbing, visibly sobbing. And one of them, I think he's Filipino. When he went back to the pew, he was still sobbing. He was sitting in front of me. He just couldn't stop. The tears just kept coming. Yeah. And
That's
I was like,
powerful.
amazing. Yeah. And one of them is Cephas, whom you know. Yeah. Yeah. He represented the lectors and he was also crying.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I think, whatever the preparation was really opened something
Yes.
in them. Is
Amazing.
and that's why spiritual life is so important. Having a spiritual life, it doesn't matter, in what shape and form, as long as it helps you to get
It's
in
only a
touch
good
with.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
It can only be a good thing.
exactly.
Maybe that should be an aspect of men too. I don't know. Yeah, they
That part
should
is
bring in
missing,
that.
isn't it?
Yes.
That part is missing. And I think also perhaps people have a misconception that if they bring in a spiritual aspect, then it's going to be religious. But no, it doesn't have to be. Yeah, you're right. They need to include the spiritual aspect, or else they are not going to get anywhere. It's harder for men to open up without that connection. Yeah. But do you know that there are a lot of men who do not believe that there's anything beyond. Like, they believe that, okay, we're born on
When you
earth,
die, that's it.
then you die, and then that's the end.
Okay.
There's
More men than
nothing.
women.
More men than women. There is nothing. There's no spirit.
I believe so. Yeah.
They only look at the biology, but then there are a lot of questions in biology you have to question too, right? Like, how did this happen? How did this come about? There must be a beginning, right? Like, how?
Yeah, who's the starter? Yeah.
They don't even question that. They're like, oh, okay, it's just like that.
Very physical, very
physical.
sensorial.
Yeah.
Material.
And people who are very physical, like their reality is just physical, they are usually the ones that would need like physical evidence. Anything that is non-physical, like if it's emotions or it's like intuition, they would deny its existence. It's not real. For them, it's not real. And so this also means that they're not in touch with how they feel. And then other people's emotions are not real. So let's say they said something to hurt someone. To them, it's like, what is your imagination? What did I say that hurt you? It's because they're not in touch. And that happens a lot, I think, in marriages where their wives are in pain or hurt by the husband who is just purely physical. There's nothing beyond. There's no emotions. There's nothing. And so after the children grow up, right? The wife say, okay, I've had enough. I'm not going to continue. You can get a maid to do all the other things for you. I'm out of here. That's also very common.
Do you feel that men are also more pessimistic than women? Women have a hopeful perspective in life, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a higher chance of women being delusional in the positive aspects than men.
The Lulu, as they say.
I mean, a lot of women are also
Yeah, a bit
delusional,
psycho.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to the optimism of things. Um, yeah, men are definitely more
Mm,
pessimistic because I mean, if they go down the route of I need evidence,
mm,
then they're not
yeah, it's
able
like,
to get in touch with how they feel, with how
mm,
they make other people feel.
mm,
Other
mm,
people's feelings are not valid. Yeah,
mm.
yeah,
And so suicides among men are much higher. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And of a certain age too, right?
yeah.
Very sad.
I don't know what the stats are in
Yeah.
Singapore in particular. Do you know from your SOS days?
I know every month back then, that was 2021-ish. Now I don't know what the stats are. Because every year there are about 400, 400 to 500 suicides. And
In Singapore?
yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And 70% or 80% are men.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm.
And of a certain age, specific, uh,
Midlife.
not terribly old. Yeah, not the very old.
Okay. I think the very old got no strength to even climb. They want to.
They're like, yeah, it's okay, like, just wait a few more months. I will just die anyway.
They don't have strength to do anything
All
to
themselves
themselves.
off.
Yeah. So that's
Ooh,
why they don't do it. I think if given
horrific.
the chance, we don't know, right? Yeah, but midlife, right? Men and then midlife. Wow.
And maybe it's pressure also. Um, Perceived pressure that they feel they face higher pressure than women in life in general because they have
Mm,
to provide, they have to lead, they have to generally take care
mm,
of the family.
mm,
Uh, it could be that too, that pushes a man
mm.
over the edge much more than a woman.
It's perceived
Yeah,
because they,
it's perceived
yeah,
because it is not true actually.
yeah, because they don't see the amount of work that the women have to do,
Yes. Yeah.
the emotional labor,
Yes.
all of that.
Correct. Yeah.
Not, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
somehow for women, no matter how bad their life is,
They bounce back.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they cope. They have wonderful coping mechanisms.
yeah,
They hope, they are very hopeful. They always feel that there's a better tomorrow or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Or they
I
have
think it's
stronger ties, maybe like, no, I can't do this because there's this people, in
yeah,
my life. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I think maybe women are. I don't know whether they're conditioned or like they can do things and they can live for someone else.
Mm,
Like if I
mm,
like a lot of women will stay in an abusive marriage for their children. Like they would
mm,
do it for someone else. That gives them the motivation and a drive. I'm not
mm.
saying that's the right thing to do,
Yeah. Yeah. But it keeps
but
them alive, lah.
it keeps them alive. It gives them
Mm.
this drive, right?
Yes.
They're very
Yes.
resilient, and
Absolutely.
it could be
Yes.
inbuilt because in childbirth you can't give up halfway. And I don't know whether is it because a lot of people are now opting for the faster way to give birth, they lose that edge.
Oh,
Like they opt for,
cesarean, is
yeah.
it?
And
Okay.
yeah, they opt
Or
and
op.
then they choose the date. And so they lose that,
Ah. Oh.
you will lose that
Yes.
if you don't practice it. And to you it's like, oh, but there's a shortcut, what? There's a way out of this. And firstly, it's not good for the baby to not have to squirm their way out because
Right.
that gives them resilience.
Okay.
It's inbuilt,
Okay.
right? It's a very powerful, it's like a caterpillar, right? I mean, if you break open the, like a caterpillar, you don't allow the caterpillar to like
Struggle.
wriggle and
Yes.
struggle and to become,
Yeah.
it's not going to be able to fly.
Yeah. 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 The
Butterfly can,
muscles. Yeah. You have
yeah.
to work your muscles.
It's the
Yes.
same with babies. And
Right. Right. Right.
whenever people say
Okay.
they're opting for it, like, why? Is it because there's a serious, like, complication?
Mm,
No,
mm.
because doctor wants to go for holiday. I know, that's sad. Or the other one is, I don't want to experience the pain. I feel it's necessary lah. I mean, if you're a woman and you choose to be pregnant, it's something you really need to go through because it's really beneficial for the baby. And so maybe when less and less women experience that, their level of resilience maybe is also dropping. Like women our time, and if you look at women who are
mothers, like young mothers.
Yeah, very different also.
Very different.
Yeah, very different. The level of resilience definitely has dropped. It's interesting. Yeah, people stay away from struggles, but struggles are necessary.
Yes. We've come to a point in the world where there's no need to suffer if you don't want to. You know, there's comfort a minute. You know, it's like my nephew, he was telling me, he said, you know, my new car, so good, no. I time it with my app, turn on the aircon 10 minutes before I go down. And then when I enter my car, it's super cold already. I'm like, wow, no suffering, huh? Then he said, yeah. Yeah. Then my other cousin, she was saying, yeah, it's like she was shaking her head. She said, it's like there's no discomfort anymore. But she did it like, you know, like this is not good. You need to have discomfort. Yeah.
You need to. You need to. The lack of discomfort, I mean, you don't have character. It doesn't build you, you know, if everything is so easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I'm slowly learning that now because I hate discomfort. Yeah. If I can have no discomfort in my life, I'll be the happiest person. But I've learned to live with it now and value it, you know. Yeah. And like savor it sometimes, not to be, you know, masochistic or anything. But yeah.
It's like observing yourself, right? Like, oh my God, this is horrible to go through. I'm in pain or whatever, but you're observing yourself going through the process and knowing that, oh my God, you know, this is like fuel, you know, it's gonna make me a better person. It's gonna make me stronger. Or it's gonna it's gonna rub off. And this is something I always tell my clients, you know, I said, you know, the only way you can gain wisdom is actually through the suffering sometimes. It's like someone light a match in your brain when you go through enough of that pain and being aware that you're going through the pain and you're processing, right? Something switches on. It's very powerful.
Yeah. And on a spiritual level, I now I will offer up my suffering as redemptive grace. And I always tell myself it can help a soul in purgatory. It can stop a woman from shooting herself up. You know, whatever. Yeah, I leave it to God to use it. So a little bit also good lah, 5 cents, 10 cents. You know, I always tell myself, I tell God, I know it's a 5 cent, 10 cent kind of suffering, but it's okay, take it, you know. I don't want to waste it. Yeah.
Interesting that you put it that way. How I would see this, right, when we are individually suffering, we are actually suffering for the collective. Because when we are suffering, ultimately we gain the wisdom, and with that wisdom, we are kind of multiplying the wisdom for the collective. Similar to what you said, but you know, in a different way.
Yes.
It's okay. Strong men cry too.
Yes. It takes a strong man to cry in public, especially. Yeah.
That should be the name of the movement.
Yeah, strong man cry.
Yes.
Go and tell it's got a better name for you. Yeah.